There are moments in a human life, rare, shattering, unrepeatable, when a single piece of paper changes everything. Not a legal document, not a diagnosis, not a map, a letter. I've spent 23 years telling other people's stories, wars, famines, political scandals. I've sat across from presidents and prisoners, from survivors of genocide and survivors of their own worst impulses. But nothing, and I mean nothing, prepared me for this one. This is the story of a letter that was never supposed to be found, a letter written in secret over the course of 31 years by a person most people have never heard of. A letter addressed to no one, and somehow addressed to everyone. Margaret Calloway, Maggie to everyone who knows her, is a third-grade school teacher from Harlan County, Kentucky. She has 2 children, a mortgage, a 10-year-old Subaru, and until 14 months ago, she had a mother, Eleanor Ruth Calloway, born 1949, died a Thursday, in the spring at the age of 74, retired school teacher, former church choir director, widow, mother of 3, grandmother of 7, by every external measure, an ordinary life. But Eleanor Ruth Calloway had a secret she had kept for 31 years. And when Maggie went to clear out her mother's storage unit, Unit 114, Clearview Self-Storage, Harlan County, Kentucky, she found it. What Maggie Calloway found in that shoebox was not a letter in the conventional sense. It was not addressed to a specific person. It did not reference specific events, specific dates, specific names. It was, and this is the word Maggie used when she first described it to me, and it's the word I keep coming back to, universal. As if it had been written for everyone, for anyone, for the person who needed it most in any given moment. As if its author had somehow known, impossibly known, that it would be read by someone who needed it. Dr. Okafor's hesitation, that careful pause before something else entirely, is something we will return to. But first, Eleanor. Who was she, really? What kind of woman spends 31 years writing a letter to no one? And why did she hide it? To understand the letter, we have to understand the life behind it. And to understand the life, we have to go back to the beginning. Eleanor Ruth Mercer was born in 1949 in a 2-room house outside of Loyal, Kentucky. She was the 4th of 7 children. Her father worked the coal mines. Her mother worked everything else. Eleanor's childhood was, by most measures, hard. The Mercer family was not poor in the way that registers as a crisis. They had food mostly, and shelter mostly, and the bones of a life. But they were poor in the way that quietly shapes everything. The future foreclosed before it's imagined, the doors closed before they're seen. At 16, Eleanor had what her family describes as, and this phrase recurs across every interview we conducted, an experience. Mount Zion Community Church, Loyal, Kentucky. Eleanor Mercer started attending at age 7. By age 14, she was singing in the choir. By age 16, the year of the experience, she had become, by all accounts, the choir's unofficial spiritual center. The next 8 years of Eleanor's life follow a fairly predictable arc for a woman of her background in that era. She married at 19 David Calloway, a good man by all accounts, who worked at the hardware store and coached Little League, and died of a heart attack at 53, 2 years before Eleanor wrote the final pages of the letter. She had 3 children, taught 4th grade for 22 years, sang in the choir, kept her house immaculate, made, by every external account, a modest, faithful, ordinary life. But on the inside, Eleanor Callaway was doing something else entirely. This is the first point at which I want to pause, because what Maggie is describing defies easy categorization. Eleanor Callaway was not, by any evidence we could find, a person with a psychiatric disorder. She was a functional, engaged, highly regarded member of her community for 58 years. She was sharp until the end. Her final medical records, obtained with Maggie's permission, show no signs of cognitive decline, no history of psychosis, no prescriptions for psychotropic medication. She was, by every clinical measure, a woman who was well. And yet, over the course of 31 years, she wrote down what she described as the spoken words of God. Here is what Eleanor Callaway never did. She never told her husband about the letter. She never told her children. She never told Reverend Hamlin, who was by all accounts her closest spiritual confidant for over 50 years. She never told anyone. Reverend Hamlin's observation cuts to something important. The history of mystical experience is also, simultaneously, a history of silence, of people who heard something, who received something, and then carried it quietly, privately, sometimes to their graves. Not out of shame, not out of doubt, but out of a kind of fierce protectiveness. There is one journal entry that Maggie gave us permission to read on camera. It is undated. Eleanor rarely dated her entries. But based on the surrounding entries, she was likely in her mid-60s when she wrote this. This is the closest thing we found to Eleanor explaining herself. What did Eleanor write all those years? What was so sacred, so patient, so enormous that it took 31 years to complete? Let's talk about the letter itself. The letter, as Maggie found it, is 14 handwritten pages. The final version, which Eleanor had recopied into a clean draft sometime in the last 2 years of her life, is composed in a single, unbroken voice. There are no chapters, no sections, no headers. It reads as one continuous expression of love. And it begins, as all the most shattering things begin, with something simple. These opening words set the letter's essential premise and its essential mystery. The speaker sees, not in the surface sense, not the way a parent sees a child across a dinner table. This is a deeper seeing, an internal seeing, heart, thoughts, dreams, struggles. This is the claim of someone who knows you from the inside. The letter speaks directly to the reality of feeling unseen, of feeling alone in the crowd of your own life. It speaks to the particular loneliness of being young, or being lost, or being in the middle of a decision that feels too big. You may not feel it all the time, but I am with you always. The letter moves then into one of its most striking passages. It speaks to anxiety, to the overwhelming weight of tomorrow, to the particular paralysis of a life lived in fear of the future. Simple words. You've heard versions of them before. They echo the Sermon on the Mount, the 23rd Psalm, the mystics, the sages, and yet read them in this context. In the context of a woman who wrote them down, alone, in a house in Kentucky, in the middle of the night, because she believed she was being asked to. They land differently. Sarah McAllister was one of 11 former students of Eleanor's we were able to locate and interview. What emerged from those conversations was a portrait of a teacher who did something that sounds simple and is, in practice, extraordinarily rare. She made every child feel seen, not just acknowledged, not just managed, seen. And the letter, it turns out, was always the source. The letter covers a remarkable range of human experience. For a document written in the voice of the divine, it is remarkably specific, not in the names and dates sense, but in the human experience sense. It speaks to anxiety, to forgiveness, to exhaustion, to comparison, to fear, to purpose, to joy. Let's walk through it, because the architecture of the letter, the way it builds, the way it moves, is itself a kind of revelation. Seek first the kingdom of God, my son, my daughter. You might wonder what that means. It means to live with your heart focused on what is good, what is true, what is right. The world will try to distract you, try to convince you that you need to chase after success, fame, or wealth to be happy. But I want you to know, true peace and joy are found in seeking me first. Everything else will fall into place. This passage is one that Dr. Okafor found particularly striking, and for a reason that at first glance seems like a minor academic footnote. It is not. This observation, that Eleanor's letter is both derivative and original, both ancient and urgent, becomes crucial later in our investigation. But first, the passage that Maggie calls the turning point of the letter. Forgiveness. If there is a subject that runs like a fault line through every human life, it is this. And Eleanor knew this subject personally, deeply, from the inside. This detail, that Eleanor was writing the letter while still living the lessons it contained, cracks open something important about what the letter is and where it came from. Because a letter that is written from the other side of struggle, from resolution, from arrival, is one kind of document. But a letter written in the middle of it, from the inside of the learning, from the unresolved, unglamorous, daily work of becoming, is something else entirely. It is, if anything, more honest, more real, and therefore more useful. In the winter of 1998, when Eleanor Calloway was 49 years old, a fire broke out in the house she and David had lived in for 20 years. The shoebox. The same shoebox that would, 16 years later, be found by Maggie in a storage unit. David Calloway, Eleanor's husband, died in 2007. He never knew what was in the shoebox. By 1998, Eleanor had been writing the letter for approximately 16 years. It is likely that at the time of the fire, the shoebox contained perhaps 40 or 50 pages of notes, drafts, and journal fragments that would eventually be distilled into the final 14 pages. She ran into a burning house for them. There is a passage in the letter that, in the context of the 1998 fire, takes on a dimension its reader might otherwise miss. Let your light shine before others, my child. You are a light in this world, a reflection of my love, my truth, my grace. Don't hide who you are. Be bold in your faith, in your kindness, in your integrity. The world needs your light more than you know. When you shine, you help others find their way too. Don't hide who you are. The woman who wrote those words hid the most important thing about herself for 31 years. Was that a contradiction? Or was it, as Reverend Hamlin suggested, a different kind of faithfulness? Right up until a very specific moment. Here is where the story, which has been remarkable, becomes something else entirely. Here is the plot twist. Maggie was not the first person to go through all 37 of her mother's journals systematically. That distinction belongs to Dr. Okafor, who spent 6 weeks in the summer following Eleanor's death doing exactly that, with Maggie's permission. And it was Dr. Okafor who found it. It is finished. 31 years. The time is right. 3 sentences, written, as far as Dr. Okafor can determine, approximately 2 weeks before Eleanor Calloway died. Let us now look at the storage unit more carefully. Because Dr. Okafor, meticulous, persistent, constitutionally unable to leave a question unexamined, went back to it. But the truly remarkable thing, the thing that, when I first heard it, made me set down my recording equipment and just sit in silence for several minutes, was not the placement of the shoebox. It was what was next to it. Inside the envelope were 2 things. The first was a letter. Not the letter. A different letter, handwritten by Eleanor, 2 pages long. A cover letter of sorts. An explanation. The second was a list of names. 12 names, 12 people, some known to Eleanor, some, as she wrote, never met by her, each identified in her handwriting as someone who needed the letter. 8 of the 12 were still living and contactable when Maggie received the list. Of those 8, 6 agreed to speak with us. What they told us, individually and collectively, is, the word I keep finding myself reaching for, is impossible. Which is, I'll note, not a word I use casually. I am a journalist. I believe in evidence. I believe in facts. I am professionally allergic to the language of the miraculous. But what these 6 people told us defies any other word. We'll call them, for privacy purposes, by their first names only. Next, we spoke to a man we'll call Malcolm. And then, there was the name on the list that had no note beside it. No explanation, no indication of why they were included, just a name. And an address. The address of a children's hospital. With the guidance of the hospital's chaplaincy team, Maggie brought the letter to the pediatric ward at a hospital in central Kentucky. She read it aloud in the common room to an audience of 7 children, ranging in age from 6 to 14, and 5 of their parents. We have the hospital's permission to share this account, with identifying details removed. Here is where, as a documentary filmmaker, I am obligated to pause. I have told you a story, a remarkable story, yes, but I want to be precise with you about what I can claim and what I cannot. What I can claim, Eleanor Calloway existed. The letter exists. The 37 journals exist. The shoebox, the storage unit, Unit 114, the list of 12 names. All of this is document, verifiable, real. What I cannot claim, what I will not claim, is the source. I cannot tell you where the voice Eleanor heard for 31 years came from. I cannot tell you whether it was, as Eleanor believed, the voice of God. I cannot tell you whether it was the deepest distillation of her own wisdom, her own love, her own studied lifelong immersion in the sacred text. I cannot tell you whether those 2 things are even ultimately different. What I can tell you, what 6 people who received the letter told us, is what it did. The letter contains, near its close, a passage that has stayed with me since I first read it. A passage that, for my money, is the crystallization of everything Eleanor was trying to say, everything she had been given to give. You have something to share. Your story, your faith, your love. It's a light that the world needs. Don't be afraid to speak of me, to share the hope that you have. You might not always have the right words, but trust me, your life is the message. Live in such a way that others see me through you. Your life is the message. Eleanor Calloway did not shout. She did not broadcast. She did not stand at a podium or build a platform or ask anyone to listen. She lived a life. She taught children. She sang in a choir. She made grocery lists and raised 3 kids and loved her husband and buried him. She ran into a burning building for a shoebox full of words she believed weren't even hers. And then she died on a Thursday, quietly, in the middle of an ordinary week. And she left behind something that will outlast her by, I believe, a very long time. After sending the letter to the 12 people on Eleanor's list, Maggie faced a decision she had not anticipated. Because people, the recipients, the hospital staff, Dr. Okafor, Reverend Hamlin, people started asking. In the 14 months since Maggie made that decision, copies of Eleanor's letter have been distributed to 12 hospitals across 3 states, 6 prisons, 4 homeless shelters, 9 grief support groups, 2 military veterans support programs, and through a network that grew entirely by word of mouth, an unknown but estimated number of private individuals. There has been no publication deal, no social media campaign, no press release, no monetization of any kind. Maggie has declined every offer. We were given access to several letters and messages sent to Maggie by people who received the letter. We will read a small selection of them here, with permission, identifying details removed. I received the letter from a hospital chaplain on the night before my surgery. I'm not religious. I've been atheist since I was a teenager. I want you to know, I don't know what happened when I read it, but I read it 3 times, and in the morning I wasn't afraid anymore. My cellmate read this to me in our cell at 2 a.m. He'd gotten it from the chaplain. Neither of us said anything for a long time after. Then he said, I think we needed that. And we did. We really did. I'm 14 years old, and my counselor gave this to me during a session where I was having a really bad time. I've read it every day for a month, the part about not comparing yourself to others. I keep coming back to that. I keep coming back to it. My husband died 8 months ago after 44 years of marriage. I've been struggling to find a reason to keep going, if I'm honest. Someone brought this letter to our grief group, and I took a copy home and I read it out loud to myself in the kitchen, and I cried for 2 hours. But it was the good kind, the releasing kind, the kind that feels like something is being cleaned out of you. I don't know who Eleanor Calloway was, but I think she would be glad to know about me. There is one more letter we want to share. This one came not to Maggie, but to Dr. Okafor. It is from a woman. We know only that she is in her early 40s and lives in the Midwest, who wrote a 6-page handwritten letter to the university's Religious Studies department after encountering Eleanor's letter through a grief support group. We'll read just the final paragraph. I have read a great many things in my life that were supposed to change me. Self-help books, sermons, motivational speeches, therapy worksheets. None of them did quite what this letter did. And I've been trying to figure out why. I think it's because all those other things were trying to teach me something. This letter wasn't teaching me anything. It was just reminding me of something I already knew somewhere deep down before life got loud enough to drown it out. It reminded me that I am loved, not that I could be loved if I improved, not that I was loved once, am loved, now, as I am. And that made all the difference in the world. We end as all true stories end, not with an answer, but with a return to the place where it began. Maggie Calloway drove back to Mount Zion Community Church on a Saturday morning in late autumn, 4 months after she found the letter. She brought the shoebox, and she brought Reverend Doris Hamlin. There's a passage near the end of the letter, the last major teaching before the close, that I want to return to now. Because it is, I think, the key to understanding why Eleanor kept the letter for 31 years, why she hid it, why she waited, why the timing of everything, the fire, the completion, the death, the discovery, feels, whether you believe in the miraculous or not, like something that was arranged. Take up your cross and follow me. This might sound hard, but it's an invitation to live a life of purpose. Following me doesn't mean life will be easy, but it will be full of meaning. It means trusting me even when the path is hard. It means living with love, with courage, with hope, full of meaning, not full of ease, not full of success or fame or achievement, full of meaning. Eleanor Calloway's life was not easy. She was born poor. She watched her parents struggle. She lost her house to fire. She buried her husband. She carried a secret for 3 decades that she could share with no one. But it was, by any measure we can take, full of meaning. Because she said yes to something. She said yes to listening, to writing, to waiting, to carrying something she didn't fully understand toward a destination she couldn't see. And then she died, and the destination revealed itself.
There is one more thing that emerged from Dr. Okafor's research and from a conversation Maggie had, almost by accident, with her Uncle Thomas. In the last weeks of our filming, I finally heard the last word of the letter, the final word Eleanor wrote. The word she had been building toward across 3 decades is this: "So, my son, my daughter, take heart. You are never alone. I am with you always to the very end of the age." Let these words sink deep into your soul. Let them guide you, comfort you, challenge you, and most of all, let them remind you of how much you are loved. With all my love, forever and always. Goodbye. Goodbye. The last word of the letter, the last word Eleanor wrote, is goodbye. Written, as best we can determine, approximately 2 weeks before she died. Was it coincidence? Was it completion? Was it, as Reverend Hamlin believes, Eleanor simply finishing the sentence that had been given to her, knowing in her bones that the giving was also a releasing? I have sat with this question for 8 months. I don't have an answer, but I will tell you this. When I first read that final word, sitting in Maggie Calloway's kitchen in Harlan County, Kentucky, with the autumn rain against the windows and the original 14 pages in my hands, I felt something. I'm a journalist. I am trained in skepticism. I am allergic to vague spiritual language. But I felt something, and the only word I have for it is seen.
Now we come to the thing I have been waiting to tell you. The thing that Dr. Okafor discovered, not in the journals, not in the letter, not in Eleanor's final notebook, but in the envelope. The sealed envelope with the word "open" on it. You remember that the envelope contained 2 things: the cover letter from Eleanor and the list of 12 names. We told you that. What we did not tell you, what we held back as Eleanor held back the letter for 31 years, waiting for the right moment, is that the list did not contain 12 names. It contained 13. Eleanor Ruth Calloway is buried in the yard of Mount Zion Community Church under the oak tree. The headstone is plain. Her name, her dates. One line. She listened. Maggie Calloway is still teaching 3rd grade. She still drives the 10-year-old Subaru. She has given away, at last count, over 200 copies of her mother's letter. She does not charge for them. She does not track them. She does not ask what happens to them when they leave her hands. She gives them and lets them go. These words are not for keeping. They are for giving. What do we make of Eleanor Calloway? What do we make of a woman who spent 31 years writing in secret, who hid sacred things in shoeboxes and ran into burning buildings, who put her daughter's name on a list and waited 3 decades for her to be ready to receive it? What do we make of a voice heard across a lifetime that said over and over, in as many ways as it knew how, "You are loved, you are seen, you are not alone"? I don't know. I don't know. And I have stopped pretending that not knowing is a failure. I think not knowing, sitting with not knowing, holding the mystery without crushing it, is itself part of the message. The letter says, "Do not be afraid, for I am with you always." Fear is not your inheritance. Faith is. Courage is. Peace is. I'm not a woman of faith in the institutional sense, but I am. After 8 months with this story, with this letter, with these people, I am a woman who has been changed by something she cannot fully explain. And maybe that is enough. Maybe that is exactly enough. The letter ends with goodbye. But goodbyes in the deepest sense are never endings. They're the moment before the next thing begins. Eleanor said goodbye, and the letter began to live.